there, my name is Scott and welcome to my hat video, a collection of hats that I have acquired over the years. And the first up is the de Havilland Canada hat, which you can see is well worn. I used to wear that thing everywhere, particularly when I was doing videographer duties many years ago. That's the logo on the back for the company that put them out. I don't recall the name, but anyway. Next hat, staying in aviation, is a hat commemorating the Hawker Hurricane, which was an instrumental aircraft in the Battle of Britain in World War II. I think this is from my dad's collection, and I'm not sure where he got it, but he did a lot of air show work and trade shows regarding aviation, so probably at one of those type of events. The next aviation hat, staying with the aviation theme, is an air show hat. And this is from the Tillsonburg Air Show. And I believe this would have been back in the early 90s, I believe. And in fact, I was there and I shot video of it, which I believe is up on my YouTube channel. And this is just a mesh staff hat that they had made for the people working the air show. Staying with aviation theme. The next hat is pretty special. The Deputy Chief of Police, I believe his title was Sergeant Kelly with York Region. I flew with them 3 times in their helicopters, and after flying with them 3 times, he called me up to his office one day and put a York Regional Police pin on the back of it, as you can see there, and gave me this pilot hat for York Regional Air Support. And the next one is, I believe, an authentic Top Gun Fighter Weapons School hat. I don't have any reason to doubt that it's not. My father would have probably acquired it from maybe a U.S. Navy pilot that was at one of the air shows as a display pilot or something. Again, he did a lot of air shows in the 90s, and I'm suspecting maybe a Sarnia air show, perhaps. The next hat is pretty special because Diamond Aircraft once started to develop this aircraft, a small business jet called the D-Jet, and they flew a prototype to Kincardine Airport one time many years back, around 04, 05, and the pilot gave my father one of the D-Jet hats, and I acquired it from my father's collection after he passed. So yeah, that's kind of a rare hat, I think, maybe. I don't know. Next hat, commemorating the Canadian Air Force in 2009. These were being handed out or sold, I believe, at the 2009 ABC Gathering Show, which I created and produced at the Kincardine Airport. And there's the embroidery work on the back, Air Force, and of course the French, and then the Canada logo. That's a cool hat. I like that hat. The next one's very special because it commemorates the RAF, Royal Air Force, in Britain, the UK. And not sure where I got this one from, but this is in my collection and has been, but I just do not recall where I got it from over the years. But yeah, another cool hat. The next hat coming up is just another one that commemorates an aircraft, and it is affectionately known as the Dakota. Also kind of known as the DC-3, but the Dakota is the militarized version of it. And this is from the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum in Hamilton at Mount Hope Airport. They have one, and that embroidered aircraft on the front is their aircraft. That is part of the museum collection. The next hat, well, this one's really special because this commemorates the 100th anniversary of flight in Canada, which I believe was in 2009, and that metal logo on the front is the Silver Dart, which was the aircraft that McCurdy, I believe his name was, first flew in Canada, powered flight. And an astronaut, Bjarne Tryggvason, who I also flew with myself later on, he flew a replica of it in 2009 to commemorate that. The B-25 Mitchell, I believe this B-25 on the front you see here is out of Michigan, maybe Willow Run Airport, and I think they may have attended an air show to display that aircraft that my father was working at. And again, he would have the crews and stuff give him hats and such, and again, this one's from his collection. The next one is kind of dear to me because I produced a half-hour mini documentary about the Canadian Harbour Aircraft Association, And this is one of their hats that I've had buried away for years, and I've never really worn it much. But yeah, it's got the fancy little adjustable kind of zipper doodad on the back there to adjust the sizing. But yeah, CHA, Canadian Harvard Aircraft Association. The next one, of course, is going to be pretty obvious what it's all about. Evans Aviation, my father's flight training company, and he also did charter work and aerial photography. And he had a number of hats and also shirts and jackets made up years ago to promote his business in doing flight training and such. Next hat. Well, this is the blackout Boeing logo. The embroidered Boeing logo on a black hat in black. Blackout. Double blackout. Is that what you call that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Boeing logo on the sizing clasp there, and then the word Boeing and the logo embroidered onto the back of it. Never really worn that much. Acquired that from my father as well. Moving away from aviation now, I am not sure what Lakeside is about. It has something to do, as you'll see on the back here, with Emerson Controls, I believe it says. I have no idea where I got this hat. I believe it was probably handed to me years ago by a sponsor of some motorsports team, and that's about all I can tell you. But like new, never worn it. Next hat, what is it? Oh, Canon. Well, I've been a lifelong Canon camera user ever since I used my Canon, what was it? My dad's Canonet QL17, I believe it was, or QL19, which was a rangefinder. And I've stuck with Canon ever since, from that camera to the AE1 in the 70s and on to like today with digital stuff. Next hat, the Stihl hat. Stihl weed trimmers, chainsaws. I've got one of them. I've got a weed trimmer. Anyway, this one stays in my garage, and I usually wear it outside when I am using my Stihl weed trimmer. You know, you got to stay brand authentic when you're out there in your yard for all the neighbors to see, right? Right. Anyway, yeah, that's my Stihl hat. Coming up next, what was it, 1967? Yeah, come on. Anyway, I was a fan at one time of the Toronto Maple Leafs and went to a few of their games back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I guess one night at one of the games I decided to splurge and spend $25 or $30 on a TML hat. Anyway, next hat, Enbridge. No idea where I got it. I suspect it was something to do, I think, with a trade show that I was involved in years ago when I worked at the Bruce Nuclear Plant. And the contractor I was with participated in a show, and Enbridge was one of the show sponsors. And I think that's how I acquired that one. Coming up next, we have a Lincoln Electric Motorsports. I got this hat when I took their motorsports welding course on over a weekend, I think it was, 2 days, down in Toronto at their head offices, and I shot a bunch of material to produce a video about the motorsports welding program, and never did cut it together for air on Rogers when I worked there. Next hat is Wolverine Tube. So I have an uncle that used to be, I guess, the head guy at Wolverine Tube in London. And they're just a manufacturer and of copper and metal pipe and tube and all that kind of stuff for industry and construction. And I think he gave us a bunch of these hats at Christmas one time many years ago when we did that gift exchange thing. Next hat is a Toronto Blue Jays hat with a bunch of Blue Jays signatures, both on the red peak, and there's a couple actually in the blue around the Jays logo that you can't really see. I don't recall who the players were that I met that got it signed. And of course, this is back in the age of when Rogers was heavily involved in the team. I think they still are. Anyway, that's a bit of a collectible for sure. Next hat up, RCMP with the metal logo on the front. Royal Canadian Mounted Police. This was given to me by a drug not interdiction crew, but they used to come and fly looking for marijuana grow ops in the fields up here, and they'd use the airport for refueling. And naturally, I got a hat from them one time when they landed in their chopper. Next hat, Team 3 Red. This, I have several different iterations of their hats. Team 3 Red was a Canadian CASCAR team. I believe they still exist under the NASCAR organization that races or sanctions the racing now. And they were sponsored back then by the Canadian Forces, and I did a big video for them that was instrumental in them getting the Canadian Forces sponsorship. And up next is one more of their hats from, I believe, the previous year. So maybe I've got these a little out of order, but I think this was the first year I met them and did the video about their team. And they went on to use that video, which aired on Rogers down in the York region where I lived and worked. And yeah, and then coming up next is a third Team 3 Red hat. And this is when they had the full-blown Canadian Forces sponsorship. And that, what you see right there, the aircraft, the tank, and the boat were on the hood of their race car. And their driver, Chris Fowler, was also going into the military and becoming a pilot with them. So it was a really cool promotional tie-in for the whole team. Up next, a Markham Driver Challenge hat from 2000. I participated in a Driver Challenge event that they had in Markham, and I participated, I believe at that time, under Shaw, where I worked, and then that was acquired by Rogers later. But yeah, it's just a driving exercise kind of thing. I forget how I did. Next hat up is broadcast related, and that's the P2 High Definition, which is a Panasonic recording technology that was quite popular back in the early 2000s. I actually have a camcorder, Panasonic camcorder, that uses P2 memory cards to record video on. Unfortunately, it's kind of out of date now because it only shoots in 1080p. Next hat. Well, this relates to my father's career. He was a conservation officer, and this is one of the 100th year of conservation officers, I guess, in Ontario. And there was a big commemoration back in the mid-90s, I believe, which was the 100th anniversary. And they had this white version of the hat. And as you'll see coming up here next, I believe there's a green version coming up as well. And sure enough, what do we have here? Conservation officer, 92. That's it, not 90. Yeah, 1892 to 1992. Conservation officers in Ontario. And my dad was one for, boy, 30-something years, I guess. From the early 60s to, I guess, about 95 when he took early retirement. And on the same theme, another hat related to that, which is the Ontario Forest Ranger School, which is a reunion that my father went to. So back in the day, before they started going to Sir Sanford Fleming for that type of training, they went to a school that was up in the little town of Dorset in Ontario, and they had a reunion, and obviously my father attended because that's where he went. Next hat. This is a company that was involved in the Restart project back in the early 2000s. They're based out of, I think, New Jersey, and they had their own jet, and they would fly into the airport a lot. And they brought us a ton of sweatshirts and T-shirts and jackets and hats with their logo on it. And we got to know those people quite well. Next up, we have Headline Sports. I don't know really much to say about this. I think I got this hat along with a jacket with the Headline Sports logo on it at a golf tournament that I played in back around 2002, I want to say, when I was with Rogers Television in York Region. What's up next? It's a mystery to me, but, oh, Castrol GTX. Castrol GTX was a big sponsor of what they call Top Tech, and this was something that was related to the CASCAR racing series in Canada. And I remember interviewing a woman who was involved in this, and it was just a program to get students in high school involved in auto mechanics and that kind of thing. Cool program. And next up, we have another RCMP hat. This is the real thing with the police embroidery on it. Again, probably some of the drug crews that used to fly into Kincardine, that used to fly in the area before marijuana was legal, looking for grow ops in fields. And the crew gave us a hat at the airport. And next up, we have the Bayfield AuSable Conservation Authority hat. Pretty sure I acquired this from my dad's collection. He would have worked very closely with people at the Conservation Authority, both in his ministry years with the Ministry of Natural Resources, and I believe he did some flying and stuff for them under Evans Aviation as well. Now, we're into 3 Nikolaus hats. Nikolaus is this is a project I worked on with Jack Nikolaus and his company called Nikolaus Golf. And they were putting out a new line of golf clubs back in 97. I worked at a company in Toronto, downtown Toronto, called McGill Multimedia. And over the course of working on the project for Nikolaus Golf Equipment, I acquired 3 of their hats with their logos on it. I gave one of these to my father. I gave one of these to my grandfather, who I would go out and play golf with occasionally. And then the next one coming up, the burgundy one, is the one that I kept and wore, but I got the other 2 back when my grandfather and my father passed away. So I worked with Jack Nikolaus on this, along with other people in the company, and I directed Jack on a video shoot, and it was a multimedia project that was basically set up in pro shops to get people to check out the clubs, and you could even order and have a set custom fitted to you. Yeah, so I got a set of clubs out of it too. I won't go into those details right now, but yeah, pretty special. This is also related to him. I acquired this hat through that project as well. This Golden Bear branding, which I believe relates to him and his golf course design, I believe, but he has a number of companies and different holdings and stuff, and at least he did back then. And of course, this was Jack's nickname, the Golden Bear. Next hat up, Bud Racing. Yeah, I don't know. Got it somewhere, probably through the CASCAR series, and my involvement and coverage of that series and stuff. Definitely from my collection, but not sure I've ever worn it, and I'm not exactly sure who I acquired it from. So yeah, I'm a wealth of information on that one. What do we got next? Oh, the new NX. Don't know how I acquired this. The new NX was the rebranding of CKNX, which was the TV station that I first started working at in Wingham back in the, late 70s, early 80s. And in the 90s, they got rebranded as the new NX, and there was the new VR and all the other stations that were acquired. But I got it somewhere, don't know where. Rogers Television. So yeah, I worked there for a few years. Did a lot of really cool stuff. In fact, working for Rogers throughout the summer of 2001 it was, I must have spent every weekend volunteering, doing stuff with motorsports coverage, shooting events on weekends, completely unpaid. I just love doing the motorsport stuff. And I think, yes, this is a black version of that same hat with the same logo. I don't think I ever wore the white one for work, but I do recall wearing this one, I guess. Yeah, so a couple of Rogers Television hats from back in the day, man. Yeah, man. Anyway, what's up next here? TikTok. We've got, it's black. Oh, Crosby Dewar. So this is a company that I worked with when I first started working at the Bruce Nuclear Plant. I was brought in and I worked for Crosby Dewar. And eventually started doing video documentation and photography of the Restart project, but it didn't last very long. My tenure there was limited, and I was only there about 9 months. The next hat's also related to that. This is the, I guess, the official Bruce Power Restart hat, and this one's logoed with the Crosby Dewar logo again. But the logo on the front, I believe, was the Restart logo, and of course Bruce A. Restart on the back, which was bringing 2 reactors out of mothball status. That's what it was all about. Next hat up is related again. Second time I worked there, a couple of years later, was for the company called Comstock, which no longer exists. But I worked for Comstock again in, what was that, 09 and 10, and only for about 9 months actually, and then laid off again. Anyway, Comstock was instrumental in the valve project on the Restart. Another RCMP hat, broidered logo this time, and I believe this is from my father's collection, and not a lot to say about it really, but I'm quite sure he acquired it through his connections with other law enforcement, either when he worked in conservation as an officer in the conservation, and I don't know the rest of the story on that one. Lincoln Electric was one of the sponsors of the Kaskar series. You may recognize that flag design on the peak there because it's used on one of the previous hats for Team 3 Red, the Kaskar team. And the reason being is that these hats were all designed and manufactured by a company called Chaco that makes a lot of motorsports apparel, and there's their logo right there. So you probably recognize that. Next hat is a Honda hat, and this is an HRC hat, as you'll see on the logo on the back of it in a moment here. Honda Racing Corporation. And I'm pretty sure I may have acquired this from my friend Rob Yako, actually may have given me this years ago. Yeah, I think that's where I got this one. Next up, Dunlop. I've had this hat for years. This hat I had back when I did a little bit of road racing in the late 80s and early 90s, and I used Dunlop tires. I believe the 391s they were. I don't know if I ever used the 591s, but definitely 391 Dunlops on my race bike at the time that I raced in amateur Formula 2 and amateur Battle of the Twins classes. What do we got next here? We got Canadian flag on a Dunlop hat, and this is definitely a hat given to me by my friend Rob Yako many years ago, because he works for Pro 6 Cycle, as you can see on the side. And they're based out of the Etobicoke area, and they sell a lot of tires and helmets and motorcycle accessories, and they also do a lot of service there. Good operation. Check them out. Next hat is Part Source. This is an ex-girlfriend of mine who worked for Part Source many years ago, and I guess she must have either given me this hat or, like many other things, probably left it behind when she buggered off years ago to move back to London. Anyway, that's my Part Source hat. I've never worn it. Up next, Red Tech, and I think this was also from my ex. Because Red Tech is a Canadian company that manufactures and sells Freon or coolant recharge kits for your automobile air conditioning system. And I think Canadian Tire actually and Part Source carry those products, so that all makes sense because Part Source is owned by Canadian Tire. And, oh, well, of course, I used to play video games a lot on the Xbox, and this is the Halo 2 hat that I believe came with the Halo 2 game package that I bought years ago. So you got the game and the hat, and there might have been a t-shirt in there too for the Halo 2 release. I'm not sure now. Yeah, I don't play that stuff anymore. Coming up next, we have, I think, an Ideal Supply hat. Yes, brand spanking new. I've never worn this one. Didn't even know it was in my collection when I pulled the stuff out. But anyway, Ideal Supply is a big Napa Auto Parts distributor. And they were started in Canada in 1926, apparently. Anyway, that's my Ideal Supply hat. Next we have Browning. Browning firearms. I had a beautiful Browning firearm, which I sold a few years ago, just before the ban came in for banning the trade or sale of purchase of handguns. Stupid law, but anyway. All politics aside, that's my waxed cotton Browning hat. Like that hat. Next up, the Red Bull race and the Grand Prix of the Americas. And this was given to me by my friend Rob a few years back. Rob's really good with gifting me stuff, including the 1999 Kawasaki Concours that I tore apart and fixed up, which I now currently ride. Anyway, that's the official MotoGP Grand Prix of the Americas hat. This is special. Rothman's hat, signed by Eddie Lawson, who I believe was the 1988 world champion on a Rothman's Honda. And I met and interviewed Eddie Lawson at a motorcycle show in Toronto back around, I would say 2001 or 2002. And I'm glad I had that hat for him to sign. Next up, Yamaha racing hat. So I've got 3 of these. They're all signed by Frank Trombino, who was a Canadian Superbike champion, I think, in 99 or 98. And he was racing the then very new to the market Yamaha R1. And I think he raced an R6 too in another class. But I did a feature on Frank, and he gave me 3 of these hats signed by him. Oh, this one's special because this is also signed by a Mexican kart driver by the name of Adrian Fernandez. And he threw this out after placing 2nd or 3rd at the one Molson Indy I attended. And I happened to be having the camera on my shoulder and just put my hand up when he threw it into the crowd, and it went right into my left hand. So I got Adrian to sign it afterwards. This is just a new era Shoei hat. Shoei sent me a bunch of promotional stuff a few years back because I've always been a big Shoei user, just like Canon cameras. So I kind of stay brand loyal to that stuff. Yeah, never worn this. It's on display in my living room, but in my collection. Next, a Pro 6 Cycle hat, from my friend Rob at Pro 6 Cycle. And yeah, I got this a few years ago from him. I've worn it a bit, but I've for the most part put it away in my collection so as to not wear it out. Pro6cycle.com. I'm pretty sure that's still a current URL to look them up online if you choose to do so. And my first motorcycle was a Kawasaki. And I've had a couple more since, including my latest one, my 1999 Kawasaki Concours. And yeah, so I got a couple of Kawasaki hats because I put my previous Kawasaki, my 550 Zephyr, on display at the Sport Bike Rally a few years back, around 2009. And Rob from Kawasaki gave us a couple of Kawasaki hats. Brooklyn Concrete. I did a video for this company many years back. They were based up in northeast of Toronto in the York Region area, and that's what this hat is all about after doing the video for them. And yeah, that's it. And that is the end of my hat collection.